Well, good evening Fjuka fans. We've not got long of these light evenings left, so I came straight out after work to have a little fish, and I'm joined by none other than David Preston, the man who invented Fjuka bait. So we're going to catch up with him in a little while, but first I thought I'd catch a couple of fish, show you what I'm doing, and then later on I'm going to give you the rundown on what I think the weekend's going to hold, weather and fishing wise. And I'm pleased to tell you folks, it's good news. This is just an amazing little venue, only quite a small lake as you can see, but absolutely stuffed with fish. I mean, it's the first time I fished it tonight, and this fish is trying to get me down the edge, which isn't very nice really when you try and do a video. Oh, it's a nice fish. David Preston's just landed one about, well, we weighed it, it was 13 pound exactly, absolutely gorgeous looking fish. But this one is probably my best fish of the evening. I've not had many big fish, but I have had a bite every single put in. And look at the colours. Look at the colours, just dropped out in the net there actually. Gone round its fin and all sorts. It was in the mouth folks, but look at the colours on that. Just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous looking fish. So we'll slip him back, we'll talk you through what we're doing, and then we're going to go and catch up with David Preston. He's got some quite exciting new products that he's playing with, and while we can't show you too much, we can give you a sneak preview as to what he's working on. But I've kept things dead simple because I've been keen to get down here and just get fishing straight after work. I've just got one bag of the yellow 2-in-1s out the back of the van, about half of a bait box full, that is, 2-pint bait box that is, and then it's an old rig I used at the weekend. It's about, I don't know, 4.5 foot deep here, something like that, and we've just plumbed up and found a sensible depth of water, and by that I mean right in the edge it's really shallow. But as we've had some colder nights now, and as we move into autumn, that didn't take long at all. As we move into autumn, it's getting to the point where the fish start backing off from the margins. And though I'm sure if we were sat here a while and we fed and we built the edges up, we'd catch them, the fact that this is like a bit of a hit and run session, we've just literally come straight down and we're fishing straight away, means, look at that. I don't think it even had a chance to get to the bottom, that one, folks. Look at him, another. Look at the colours on it. Gorgeous little fish. So just in the top lip. Yeah, because obviously we're keen just to get down here and get fishing straight away, and we're only going to have an hour and a half probably tops before it's too dark. I wanted to fish in a depth of water where I knew I'd catch quickly, and that meant just finding the bottom of the slope, which was about, as I said, 7 metres out, and all I'm doing, I'm hooking a single piece of 2-in-1. That's yellow, which was the first colour I came to. I think yellow, natural or red would be absolutely perfect for this really. You might catch on whites and other colours, but I just think them three would probably be my go-to colours. And then it's just a case, I've got a rig set about 4 foot deeper, an RW Dink I think they're called, these floats on. I'm just lining up with a far bank marker, keeping everything as accurate as I can. So I know it's a nice little flat bottom there. And I'm just feeding by hand actually tonight, but I would, if I couldn't throw accurately, I would tighten that up by kinder potting, I think, just to keep things dead tight. But again, because we're going for that quick hit sort of effect, throwing some bait in, making a bit of noise does us no harm whatsoever. Just a little strong bulk shotting pattern. And quite a big hook really, a 14 to 0, I think it's 0.15 that, which again I would scale down if I wasn't getting bites, but as I've come down I didn't really know what to expect. I always like to start with a size of hook that gives me a chance of landing whatever I might encounter, and then obviously you can find things down if you're struggling, but as it stands we're not. We've had a bite every single put, which is all you can ask. You can see indications on the float there straight away. It's a lot of movements, a lot of fish there actually. It's important not to get giddy. I mean, although as I said, we know there's fish there, we know they're feeding, we've fed some bait now. We know there's fish in the area, and that's when you just pays to be a little bit patient and just wait for a proper bite. You can see movements all the time on the float, little lifts. And that's fish moving around the rig, brushing into them droppers and giving indications on the float. And what we're waiting for is a solid, fast pull under. And if we don't get one after about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, we just give it a little lift. And all that does to me is shows it to the fish again and makes sure that that piece of 2-in-1 on the hook's not fell under a leaf or under any sort of debris on the bottom. Shows it to her, and often that brings a bite straight away. It hasn't, it has there. Oh, well, I missed it. So again, we're just going to flick that out. It's always important when you know you're fishing on a bit of a slope, like we know it is here. There's a slight shelf about 6 metres and a bit of a gentle slope. It's important just to flick that rig out in front so that you know the whole thing's straight and you know your bait's not laying up the slope. Oh, see that little tiny dink there just as the bait settles. I think it's another carp. Oh, it's come off. Right, we're going to catch one more for you folks, and then we're going to go and have a look at what David Preston's been up to, because I can tell you he's got some devilish developments on the way. So, as I said, single piece of yellow 2-in-1 on the hook. Shipping out around about 7 metres. When we get there, we're going to feed a little bit of bait this time. And we're just going to wait. Just seen David hook what looks to be another nice fish. So we're going to catch one more. I thought, oh, that was a nice little bite. It's not as big as that one. It's actually my first roach of the evening. So 2 carp and a little roach. Look at that. Gorgeous. A lot of anglers will be disappointed with a roach after 2 carp because they're my favourite fish. Look at him. So what we're going to do now is we're going to nip around the lake. We're going to see how David's getting on, and then I'm going to pop back here, and if we've got enough light, I'm going to tell you what you can expect if you're heading out on the bank this weekend. Well folks, here he is. David Preston, relaxing after work, and I'm going to disturb him. You just had a rather large carp, David.
Well, larger carp, quite large for a place like this, £13.
Oh, what's that?
There's a lot of little ones in here.
Yeah, there are, but great sport.
I missed that.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's loads of little ones in here. But it's a weird thing about carp fisheries. You can have fisheries that are absolutely stuffed full of small carp, and you think you'd think that there wouldn't be any big ones in there because they'll all be hungry. But quite often there's nice carp in there, you know, largish carp.
I mean, that one you had first off, I love. I mean, the condition of that fish was great, wasn't it?
That's what I mean. It wasn't hungry at all.
Right, show us what you're doing. Can we have a look inside the secret tactic?
Yes, if you want.
Go on then.
Right, so what I do is when I'm using a feeder, I block up one end.
So you're really stuffing some bait in there, aren't you?
Yeah, really hard. So that's going to last quite a while.
Yeah.
And then there's a reason for that. I'll tell you if you really want to know. And then where's it got? Because I want to get the bigger fish out of here, I've combined about 5 fat boys.
What's these things down here? Look at them. Fjuka fat boys.
Yeah. So I've combined and rubbed them all together until they're one.
Yeah.
And then I find they stay on the hook. The idea is to have a bigger bait to select bigger fish. And to stay on the hook the best, what I do is I make a neck so it doesn't block up the bend of the hook.
Right.
Like that. And then I put it round the bend so you've still got the point showing. So it's like I've hooked a big ball of it, but it stays on the hook because it's got weak gluten in it. I know I'm getting a bit technical. It stays on the hook better.
Let's have a look at that against your hand. I see. So that's sort of round the bend of the hook, but the way you've done it there, that's not coming off, is it? Because
no, it won't come off. But it's very weirdly. So it selects out the bigger fish.
Yeah. It
stays on the hook well, and weirdly, it's a blowback rig as a bait that is a blowback rig because when they actually blow back, it goes back up like that. So it's which is a good thing for maintaining hook hold.
Yeah, got you.
So I've got a bigger bait that stays on.
Yeah.
I've got a blocked end of a swim feeder. And then I put a more powdery loose breakdown, fast breakdown sort of ground bait. I'm experimenting with a ground bait for Fjuka anglers, and then I press that in there, just lock it in a little bit, so that'll come out really quickly. And the reason why I blocked that bit off is because if there's loads of little fish around, they'll scoff the whole lot and then there'll be nothing to attract your hopefully your bigger fish in. But with that there, staying there, that'll stay there for like 10-20 minutes and carry on attracting fish to this area. And also it stops the bait being blown through there.
Got you.
Which is not a good thing.
Got you. It's
I know it sounds really technical.
it does sound technical. It makes sense. It strikes me as a similar concept in a way to a pellet feeder presentation, because the fish can only come at it one way, can't they?
Well, exactly. They were invented by Andy Finley, who I used to employ. He's a very clever guy, and things that you learn from people like that, they stick in your brain. So I'm going for a particular. That's exactly right. Strangely, particularly when it starts getting colder,
Yeah.
you can't seem to hold up in one spot in a pool.
Yeah.
And I've found where it is, so don't tell anyone.
You found the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I think I know what your marker is.
What is it?
Could be wrong. I think it's them poplars.
No. No.
We're blowing your cover.
I'm going to move them. I'm going to move them.
That's it. Cut them down and move them 2 foot along. Can we pretty please have a little look at this new floating neons bait that everybody's talking about? Because I've had quite a lot of people dropping messages on the Fjuka Anglers forum about this. Because I understand a few samples have found their way into people's hands.
Yes, they have. Yeah. Well, it's really good stuff, actually. I mean, for coarse anglers, here's some. It's buoyant. So for coarse anglers, you can actually put some on and reduce the density, the weight of your hook. You know, counteract the weight of the hook.
Yeah.
So it goes into the fish. You get better bites.
Yeah.
But the beauty about these, unlike a little hard pop-up or something, is you can make any size you want to suit the size of your hook. So you can use like that, or you can put
Or tiny little piece even if you
for
wanted
a
to.
20 size 20 hook, you can use a little piece. So that's the beauty about them. And so you can pop them up, or you can have them wafting around, or you can have them sinking quite well. They're quite rubbery, so they stay on the hook better. And if you're a trout angler, or a perch angler, or a zander angler, you can actually, if you I'll get a big one because these are real rough prototypes. You get one of those, you know, make them into a wormy or fish shape, very easy, and then you hook it, and it'll stay on. There's no difficulty with it staying on. They're quite tough, and they'll go through the water like a swimming fish. And we've caught trout on them and perch on them.
Yeah.
So they're quite exciting, really. So it's for the predator anglers, they are a bait and a lure in one.
David, that's awesome. I feel like I'm distracting you from your fishing, but I'm not feeling guilty at all because you've caught a bigger fish than me, and I'm really not happy about it. And I'm going to go back myself now and try and catch one even bigger. So there you have it, folks. David Preston and some great tips for all you carp style anglers. I'm really excited about those floating neons. I think they'll have all sorts of applications for every kind of angler, from sort of your general match style angler for things like pop-ups, the carp anglers for similar reasons, and even, as I said, lure anglers and fly anglers. And yeah, I just think there's nothing quite like them on the market really at the moment. I think it'll be really interesting. So what's the weekend going to have in store fishing wise? Well, I'm pleased to say it's brilliant news for a change. Last weekend I told you all about rain and wind, and this weekend I'm going to tell you all about sunshine. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be 18, 19 degrees depending on where you are in the UK. Ooh, nice little dink that was. And I think it's another carp, that. It's going to be a really, really nice weekend to be out on the bank. If you're going commercial fishing, I would urge caution in some respects though, because talking to friends up and down the country, it's been quite a tricky week by all accounts. So I certainly wouldn't expect anything too dramatic. go easy, you know, feed little and often. Start maybe by introducing some micros at the start of the session, and then obviously if things are good, you can up the ante. Another lovely little mirror, look at him. You know, I definitely urge caution, as I said, and say start gentle, and then you can always build up and be more selective if there's a lot of fish feeding. It won't be long now, it might even happen this weekend before the fish have a real chew, I think, getting ready for winter. It always tends to happen about this time of year that, you know, quite a few venues fish are absolute nuts off, so that could well be this weekend, but it might not be. So, as I said, feel your way in, be cautious, and if it's going to be a great day, if it's going to be an absolute bumper day, then you can afford to up the ante, can't you? So, that's all I'd say on that one, really. Quite a general point, really, but just something I've noticed speaking to a few people. There's a lot of fish seem to be further out in the lakes. Margins haven't been as prolific this last week or two, maybe because of the colder nights. So it's definitely worth starting further out, maybe on a bomber or a feeder or a longer pole on a lot of commercial fisheries, because you'll tend to find the fish back off a little bit quicker now it's going cooler. And again, you probably will still catch them in the edge later on in the session, so there's nothing wrong with priming it for later. Just start off further out in the lake. Rivers and canals, I think you're going to have a bumper weekend if you're going on them. That little bit of rain last weekend will have done no harm whatsoever. It'll have flushed things through. The rivers will be in top form this week, so if you're heading out, all I'd say is, you know, be positive, really. I wouldn't see any reason why you won't have a great session, so I'd certainly be looking to catch some bigger fish, some chub, some barbel, some bream somewhere. If that's what you like doing, I think it's a great time to do it. And roach fishing wise, again, I think it's going to be a good weekend for that. Only thing I'd say is obviously the colour will have dropped out a lot of places. It's been quite a few days now since we've had any serious rain, so head for a bit of cover if you can. I've said this before, when it's bright sunshine, you know, look for some cover on the far bank, some boats, some trees, that sort of thing, and that goes for both rivers and canals, really. Look for a little bit of cover, and you might find that the fish are hugging that. So that's all from me, folks. Have a fantastic weekend if you're going out on the bank. Might be the last bit of good weather that we get for the year. Hopefully it won't be. We never know. And if you get a chance, why not nip out for a last evening session, because I've really enjoyed this. We've only been fishing for about, I don't know, 90 minutes probably, David and I, and as you can see it's now dropping dark, and won't be long before we have to pack up and go and have some tea, but make the most of it. Winter's round the corner and there's still some awesome fishing to be enjoyed. Have a great weekend, folks. See you on the bank soon.